This is Inside Indiana Business Radio for the afternoon of November 15th, 2022. Brought to you by That's Good HR. I'm Alex Brown. A steel and composite products manufacturer headquartered in Louisville is expanding into Scott County. GIM Inc. plans to invest more than $18 million to develop a manufacturing campus in Scottsburg and create up to 135 jobs by the end of 2026. The Indiana Economic Development Corporation says the new location will be used to increase production of the company's sandwich plate system, which involves a load-bearing composite panel that can be used in place of concrete. A new report from the Indianapolis-based Richard M. Fairbanks Foundation shows widening racial disparities in education in Marion County. The report shows only a quarter of Black and Hispanic 3rd through 8th grade students achieved proficiency in English and math compared to their white and Asian peers.
Certainly, COVID has had an impact, and I think it's important to remember that these gaps aren't new, but COVID has certainly made them worse. It has destabilized all of our lives, and that's being played out in terms of education outcomes for these students. Unfortunately, family income also plays a role, and so not having access to high-speed internet and other supports at home during the early days of the pandemic also played a role.
CEO Claire Fidian Green. The report gives recommendations including differentiating state aid in the K-12 funding formula. Gleaner's Food Bank of Indiana says it is relaunching its drive-through distributions at its on-site community cupboard in Indianapolis because of increasing need. The organization says the number of clients being served is up 50% from the start of the year and at 85% of the levels served at the height of the pandemic. Inside Indiana Business Radio On Demand is made possible by the following.
With one call to That's Good HR, your hiring challenge is solved. It's that simple. That's Good HR is the secret ingredient to strategic staffing. Have an HR, accounting, administrative, or customer service position to fill? Trust That's Good HR to make a match that's good for everyone, whether temp to hire, or a direct hire placement. For 22 years, That's Good HR has been handpicking employees and employers through a highly personal and authentic approach that delivers long-term results. Visit that'sgoodhr.com. Remember, the match matters.
Get ready, Northeast Indiana. We're headed your way. Join IBJ Media and Inside Indiana Business November 29 at Fort Wayne's Grand Wayne Convention Center for Engage Northeast Indiana. We've assembled the region's top business, community, and philanthropic leaders for a discussion on the issues shaping the future of Northeast Indiana. From attracting top talent to workforce and economic development, we'll explore what's working and big ideas for what's next. RSVP by November 18 at InsideIndianaBusiness.com.
A policy advisor and longtime business economist for the 7th Federal Reserve Bank in Chicago says Indiana's soaring farmland values are mostly due to improving grain prices, but he says values are also playing catch-up in the Indiana market. David Opedal is the author of the Chicago Fed's quarterly agricultural letter, which tracks farmland values and credit conditions. The third quarter report shows the value of good quality Indiana cropland is 29% higher than the same period a year ago.
I think the biggest factor for farmland values in Indiana is that they're seeing the large gains in revenues for corn and soybeans in particular. Given the higher prices this year, even though inputs costs have gone up some as well, it's still a pretty favorable year generally. And Indiana had seen little smaller increases in the first part of the year relative to, say, Iowa. Illinois is kind of in the middle there between those two. And, their farmland values have traditionally been higher. And so Indiana, with a little bit lower farmland values, there might be somewhat of a catch-up mechanic in there.
Indiana had the biggest year-over-year increase throughout the Chicago Fed's Midwest region, which includes all or part of Indiana, Illinois, Iowa, Michigan, and Wisconsin. One-time court litigants battling over patent infringement are now colleagues in Elkhart County's RV supplier industry. Lippert Components, through its subsidiary Furrion, has acquired substantially all of the business assets for Way Interglobal Network. All of the companies are based in Elkhart. In July 2019, Furrion filed a lawsuit in federal court against Way Interglobal, claiming patent and trademark infringement. In the lawsuit, Furrion claimed Way violated Furrion's intellectual property by selling its 2-in-1 range ovens that are used in recreational vehicles. In response, Way called the lawsuit frivolous. LCI says the Way brand will not be carried forward after the acquisition. Governor Eric Holcomb has declared this week Global Entrepreneurship Week in Indiana, and the Indiana Economic Development Corporation is launching a pair of initiatives to support entrepreneurship throughout the state. A new online portal is currently in development designed to provide a variety of resources, both financial and non-financial, to Hoosier entrepreneurs. Vice President of Entrepreneurial Ecosystems, Julie Heath, says the online portal seeks to help entrepreneurs get past certain roadblocks.
One of the things that we think about when entrepreneurs are starting companies is that they are often solving for problems that haven't been solved for before. So they see an unmet need and they create a product or a service or an experience to meet that need. And the guaranteed thing in entrepreneurship is that there is no blueprint for what hasn't been done before. So there is going to be a point where entrepreneurs get stuck, and we want to get them unstuck as quickly as possible.
The online portal is currently being beta tested by organizations that support Hoosier entrepreneurs and will also be tested by entrepreneurs themselves. Heath says the feedback from that testing will inform when the portal will launch to the public. This report is brought to you by That's Good HR, the secret ingredient to strategic staffing. More at that'sgoodhr.com. I'm Alex Brown for Inside Indiana Business Radio on Demand.